Okay, so tonight I'm sitting with my friend Enloe, and Enloe is a brown belt. He has been one of the most helpful teammates as I've started training because he won't make excuses for me. And you crush my excuses. Every time I give them to you, you crush my excuses. But in the nicest way, because you're telling me we all deal with it. And you made a choice to be here. So deal with it. And I appreciate that. So let's talk about your background, because Jiu Jitsu was not the first martial art you mastered, correct?
I haven't mastered any martial art, but yeah, this is the...
Okay, but you were a black belt in Kung Fu.
Yes.
Long before Jiu Jitsu, right?
You're right. I mean, I officially got it last April, but I've been doing Chinese martial arts since I was like 18.
How did it start for you?
When I first got into martial arts, I was actually 7 years old when I first started. I have a certificate from like when I was 7 when I got my little yellow belt, but it was like a karate. Yeah. And then I stopped for like a few years, and then I got back into it when I was 11, got into Taekwondo. I did Taekwondo for a little bit, but I was also playing basketball for my middle school, junior high, whatever.
Enloe's 6'4". If you can't see this, he's big. He's a basketball guy.
Right. So then I played football in high school just for a little bit, but then I decided I really like martial arts. When I got into high school, like my sophomore year, I did Kempo. So I have a first degree black belt in Kempo. I have a first degree black sash in Kung Fu. So when I say Kung Fu, I mean like Northern Shaolin, Tai Chi Praying Mantis, so like Northern styles.
Right. And that in Shaolin, that's not katas, is it?
No, it is. It's a lot, actually. A lot of katas. You know, but they're kind of athletic. Like there's a lot of jump kicks, low sweeps, and things like that. Like so, it keeps me athletic. It's like plyometrics is built into them too. You know, so.
What brought you to Jiu Jitsu, and when did Jiu Jitsu come on your radar?
So at the time, so Fredson's not my first Jiu Jitsu instructor. I actually started with another guy. I'll just say his name's Sergio Pena. I started with Sergio, but so Sergio's like Fredson's senior.
Okay.
You know, so they're from the same Osvaldo Alves lineage.
Same school.
Yeah. So Sergio opened up a school close to the Kung Fu school, and I decided I'd check it out because I had saw the first UFC fights with Royce Gracie back when I was like 12. You know, it came out when I was 7, but I didn't see him until I was 12. My dad rented him from Blockbuster. And like me, my mom and dad watched him. We didn't expect Royce to win, and he did, you know. So I was like, well, one of these days I'm gonna have to learn this. So and then once they opened up, I was like, okay, I'll try it. It was like one of the hardest things I've ever done. Like, and I mean, I come from a martial arts background, but like, you know, I was kind of gifted with like striking, you know, like it was quick for me. It came natural for me, you know. But grappling didn't. I didn't wrestle in high school, none of that. So, just.
What would you say then to someone with that background coming in, right? Because you have the athleticism, you understand a lot of the culture from martial arts perspective. Yeah. But then you're coming into something so challengingly new. How do you approach it without ego to come back in as a white belt again when you started Jiu Jitsu?
Oh, well, it's easy for me because, like you said, like I'm already in the culture, and that's a large part of the culture of martial arts is leaving your ego at the door. Like, you know, so it was easy for me to just, I mean, initially, like, it was easy, but then it was also difficult because, like I said, like striking was so natural to me that it was easy, and like striking is a lot more explosive, so it was easy for me to like, especially when I started as a teenager and in my early 20s, it was easy for me to just run through people. But so for me to get run through like that by other people, just, you know, just tore up in the jiu-jitsu sense. Like when I first started, like this was back in like when I was from 21 to 23.
It like reiterated that leave your pride at the door message again?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. So like it was a little bit of it was a mild depression, but then I got over it, and then I was like, okay, I'm starting to learn. But then like a series of events of like just life events took me away from it. And plus I got interested in more bodybuilding and powerlifting, and I was like overly attached to my identity as a striker. Right. So, because to me, I was like, well, I'm going to learn some jiu-jitsu, but I want to learn just enough so I can get back to my feet. But then as I got a little older, I started traveling, and I wanted to like see if I could live in other countries. And I was like, well, wait, I need a skill. I didn't finish college. I need some kind of a trade. But then I noticed that, like, you know, a lot of these other countries, they don't have like the high level of grappling. Like, you know, there's some, you know, you have a few standouts, of course. You have a few diamonds in the rough.
And you have places that just excel at it. I saw something online just the other day. the first female black belt in Australia is starting to travel and do seminars for women. And I just thought, this is like the first female black belt in an entire country?
Yep.
Wow. And you think about the evolution of the sport. Like for me, I'm so thankful for the women. I'm 43. I remember the first girl who wrestled in my high school's wrestling competition circuit.
Right.
And that poor girl got put through hell.
Oh, yeah.
Hell. And yet I'm so thankful for those girls who stood up and said, no, we want to play the sport too. And I think that inclusivity, but for you to recognize that for travel as an opportunity to teach, because I know you're an incredible teacher.
Oh,
so
thanks.
Did you teach as you traveled?
I didn't get to, no. So like when I did get to train, I was able to drop in. I wasn't really teaching any jiu-jitsu because I was still a white belt. Like I didn't, I'm still like
Learning.
Getting back into the idea of like, oh, I should probably look into doing jiu-jitsu as like my trade if I wanted to travel and teach, or live in another country, right? But then what wound up happening is I also noticed that like there were a lot more opportunities to compete.
Yeah. In jiu-jitsu.
In jiu-jitsu, yeah. Because like Kung Fu, there's not a lot of tournaments. And then I was trying to get into some like kickboxing smokers and stuff, and it just really wasn't happening, like not at the frequency that I wanted. Like
and so the space to travel is a lot farther, I would think, between tournaments.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. So the good thing is that I could compete at like Naga one week. I can do like American Nationals the next week, and I can do like high rollers the next. And like I've done something similar like that in the past.
What would you say to somebody getting into it because so many people come in going, oh, I'm not going to compete. And most of us end up competing at some point. What would you say as far as the expectations? Because you compete at least once a month.
Yeah, as much as I can, yeah.
A lot.
Definitely.
And I've seen you win. I've seen you lose. And I got to be honest, there's no difference in your mood walking out of a competition. I mean, yeah, you're happier when you win, but even when you lose, you're happy. Like you're still, all I ever hear from you is what you learned.
Yeah.
In that match. So coming from that aspect of, I think what most people would say, I mean, you're not a contracted professional fighter. How do you approach competition to keep it healthy?
Oh, just think about what I did from the last tournament. Video footage helps, but my memory is pretty good. But just think about what I did from the last tournament and just try to build off of that, and just think that like, this is essentially what you wanted when you were a kid, was to be able to just, like be a ninja, but like, no, but like, that's what keeps me motivated. Like, I just really, really like martial arts, and like I found it at a young age, and I've been able to stick with it all this time. So like, I don't have any kids, I'm not married, I don't have any serious injuries,
Keep going.
Yeah, just be thankful, because there'll come a time.
How does the competition impact your skill as a martial artist?
Oh, it increases it, because now whatever you are terrible at is like put on like a spotlight. Like if you want to learn anything, sorry to interrupt, if you want to learn anything, attach a little risk to it. Like think about like even if you wanted to learn how to cook,
right? Like, you got to turn the burner on.
Yeah, cook for some people sometimes, especially your honest friends,
Yeah.
The ones that aren't gonna baby you, like coddle you. Cook for them and see what they say, like if they they give you some real feedback, like attach a little risk to something that healthy risk, and
Where does that, as far as your life off the mat, how does that impact the rest of your life, the way that you function? I mean, you've been doing martial arts since you were a child. That's part of your development.
Yeah.
Whereas some of us coming to it as adults are adapting and learning that. So how does that impact the rest of your life?
It makes it easier for me to do the hard work, which is learning to love and investigate yourself more, and doing the work that needs to be done. I feel like a lot of people don't, because like there's security, like as far as like their personal security, as far as like how they value themselves, how they identify, and things like that. That hasn't been satiated.
Yeah.
It's like a Maslow's hierarchy of needs thing. Like that base level hasn't been fulfilled, because a lot of people are competitive, but a lot of people just don't act on it because they know there's a risk of losing. And some people put too much stock in their ego to like lose, but it's like you have to, like, I mean, it's not that you should go out on purpose and lose, but you have to experience that to just learn. Like, it's just
and to grapple with the emotional reaction to a loss, and then a loss in front of your friends, in front of your family, you know. But at the same time, you compete against good friends.
Yeah.
That sometimes they're training partners, sometimes they're not. What's the mentality going into that situation?
Just turn it off and, like, you know, we're not exactly friends in that moment. Not, you know.
I think I've only done one competition. But one thing I was
You did great in it too, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's a big compliment. I will take that one all day long. No, but one thing I thought of was, for me, it was alarming because I'd rolled in training. Like, I was Shark Tanked right before the tournament.
Right.
And I was not happy about it. But the first time that the ref says, go, and your opponent drops and eyes you as an opportunity rather as a person, like just that body, and recognizing that with training partners, sometimes I'm not thinking, this is my friend Enloe, I'm thinking, how do I control that arm? How do I control that leg? Is that kind of what happens when you compete against friends, is you isolate the person from the body?
Yeah, absolutely.
That you're competing against.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And sometimes, like, it's not even just like the arm or leg. A lot of times it's just like in this 5 minutes or whatever match length, like, they're just not a person, you know.
Right.
And not in like an evil way or a malicious way. It's just like I just have a task at hand, and I just gotta do that. And then afterwards, and then as you'll see in further tournaments, that's something I'm gonna start doing a little bit more to everybody. Like, I gotta just get in the zone with my music and things like that. Because before I've been kind of winging it, but, you know, and just like
start making a deliberate plan.
Yeah, start making like a ritual. It's like it's important with athletes. Every athlete has a ritual, and like I never really had one. Maybe when I was younger, but like now, like lately doing jiu-jitsu, I haven't. But now I'm like, no, let's develop a ritual.
I love that this sport gives those of us from every walk of life an opportunity to experience being an athlete.
Yeah.
Because I think that there's such a different mentality. I was thinking about this. Fredson doesn't say, oh, come work out, or, you know, come play. He says, come train.
Yeah.
Like, there's deliberation and intention. And tonight, you know, we were doing technique. And sometimes there's points where I'm like, oh, I don't want anybody to see me because I'm not confident with this technique yet. But then there's other points I'm like, would somebody please watch me and tell me where I'm wrong? And I think having that team there helps you push through those hurdles. But saying training versus going to class says that you intend to do it perfectly at some point.
Yeah, exactly. Like, that's something we used to talk about in the strength and conditioning and bodybuilding world too, when I was in that world more. People go to LVAC or whatever gym and like, I'm gonna go work out, or versus like, I'm gonna go train. Like, there's purpose behind training. Working out just sounds like you're just gonna
go get a cute little sweat.
Yeah.
And working out is optional.
Exactly.
If it works out, you'll work out, right? But if you're training, there's deliberation.
Exactly.
With you train kids. Like, you're an amazing coach for the kids. No, you really are. How has that impacted the way that you practice?
Oh, I just catch myself in situations where I'm like, oh, I would have yelled at the kids to do this, so you need to just do this. Like, no, seriously, there's times like if I'm in a position, I'm like, what would I think about, like, didn't I just yell at the kids about this? Oh, then I just need to do that and get out. And sure enough, I do.
It keeps. You know? I think, like, I love with the kids, your dynamic. You don't treat them like babies. Like, you expect them to be the athletes that you expect yourself to be too. You know, and I don't think there's many sports that'll do that anymore.
Yeah, I would say not anymore.
I mean,
maybe football, but no. Even then, like, it depends where you go.
For an 8-year-old, you're not like I think that we have a higher expectation of our little kids.
I think we do
on the mat.
I know I do.
Yeah.
You know, but it's only because, like, I know they can get it. Like, you know, like, I know they can handle it.
Where do you think, and at what point, because this is for me sometimes a challenge, is seeing technique, but then combining the technique in the moment, like recognizing that. And I guess the question is, with your experience, where do you start to kind of see that beginning to happen with new people, where they're connecting? You know, we do moves of the day, move of the day, move of the day, but then when you'll go, oh, you just pulled move of last week on me, or you know, where they're starting to put the pieces together. Am I articulating that all right?
Yeah, I'm not gonna make you go through it again. I think I got the gist of it. Like, no, more or less you did. I think so the biggest thing is to always try to do the move of the day immediately.
Okay.
In rolling, as soon as, you know, that day, try to, all right?
Incorporate it.
And then another thing too, because of like Fredson's particular style of jiu-jitsu too, because, you know, not trying to pit the two guys together or anything, but just being completely honest here, you know, nothing like Fredson teaches with a lot more detail than Sergio.
Right.
So what winds up happening is that I have to have extra days where I just link up with somebody and just drill technique.
And to fully assimilate that and create the good muscle memory.
Yeah, and to not forget, you know, because one of these days I'm going to be teaching, you know, so I need to make sure I have all the details down and blah, 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 and things like that too. So I get with people sometimes and just drill technique.
I think that's a very good point, though, that jiu-jitsu is jiu-jitsu, right? Like, you can read a textbook about it and see all the same techniques and descriptions, but when it comes to the fine-tuning, every professor, every school will have their own style. How does that come across in competition? Or how does it translate after competition?
A lot of people talk about how strong I am, but like, I mean, I am strong, but it's like a lot of it too is just like the technique and the paying attention to the details. I just sometimes I just do things a little different, you know. And also, I notice sometimes like I tend to kind of rough people up in competition because of the details. Right. But that's fine, right? Because it's competition.
So it catches them by surprise.
Yeah, because the last guy I armbarred at Naga, I did that knife hand slice through the neck to set up S mount, you know. But like when I'm stuck under people, a lot of times it's not the same. Yeah. Like, you know, I can get out or I get caught or,
so
you know.
Show me the S mount.
Oh, you want to do the S mount? Okay, so let's try to face.
Yeah, let's face.
Yeah.
You want me here?
Sure.
Okay.
So here, boom, boom. Here, hold up. Before you drop this.
Yeah. There we go.
Or roll on it. Here, so slide back a little bit.
There we go.
Boom. All right, ready? So I'm gonna come here. I'm gonna slice through that neck, because that forces you to want to bring your hands up, right?
And what Fredson was saying is a lot of people just go straight to grab the shoulder. And
No, they don't. He needs to slice through, because that makes things like brutal, you know. Then
and it pulls the skin.
Yeah, because I'll come here.
You don't even have to go all the way around before I feel it.
Yeah, see.
Because if you slide right. So, at what point do you think that you would stop training?
Just when I'm dead.
Why? Why does it matter that much to continue training?
Well, it really centers me out, balances me out, you know, and it's just, I don't know, it's just so enriching. Like, why would I really give it up, you know?
Yeah. I noticed that, like, a lot of stress that I'll walk into the gym with is gone.
Yeah.
When I walk out.
Yeah, totally.
And
yeah, that and it's just nice. It's nice knowing how to defend yourself. A lot of people don't think that that's like important, but like it really is. Like, it's always going to be something that matters, you know. And you know, your mental toughness shouldn't come from another object. A lot of people, like, they carry guns and they're like, see, I'm tough, and it's like, well, that means if I take your gun away, now you're not tough. You're supposed to be tough on the inside.
Me, like, I'm 5'2". You can overpower me physically very, very quickly. And if I brought a gun into that exchange, this is my perception, and I love shooting. I'm an enthusiast, but if I bring a weapon to that exchange, it's going to probably be used against me. if I don't know how to defend my physical space, because you can outmuscle me.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Know?
Yeah, a lot of people don't think about that. Like, you know, you're gonna be in close most likely, you know, before you find out if someone's a threat.
Right.
And then you're already in like a grappling exchange, so you need to know how to grapple.
Well,
and even with weapons, it's even more important. You
Yeah.
need to be able to retain your weapon.
Yeah.
Things like that, you know. So.
Well, and I think too, like we've talked about competing, we've talked about training for the enjoyment of it, but jiu-jitsu really has a lot of practical application for personal safety. For instance, and I've said this often, with women who go, "Ooh, I don't want to do that. That's gross. That's men. That's whatever." But reality is, if I grab you by the back of the head, nothing's going to happen. No one's going to grab you from behind and drag you into a dark corner or wherever. Whereas me, that's, if I really need my jiu-jitsu, that's most likely the scenario, is I'm being caught unaware from behind. What, and I know my perspective, but for your perspective, what does the consistency of training do for your mindset when there is a physical, because you work protection, you work security and things like that in a lot of different settings. What's that mentality when a physical confrontation happens, if you're never exposed to it?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, totally. Well, you know, you can't be good at something you don't practice.
Right.
There's no, you know, and name me anything you'd be good with no practice, right? And even if there was something, you'd be phenomenal with practice, right? So when I do security, it actually makes me stand out more, because there's so many guys that just treat security, guys and gals that treat security as just like a job, but then it can get dangerous. Like it's a rare chance, but if it happens and it goes south,
gonna go bad.
It's gonna go really bad, right? So but people don't think about it that way. So.
Right. Well, but your mindset, like if it goes south, do you think that the people who are treating it as just a job, I'm a body in a suit, to kind of be a barrier, do you see them panic?
I do. Like that's how.
And you don't.
Yeah. Right.
When someone puts hands on you.
I don't. Yeah. Like it's same in law enforcement. Like, you know, the police officers that get in the news or police overreach are the ones that don't train. Like if you don't know how you react and things, like you can hear it in people. You hear how people talk. Some of the things they say that they'll do to somebody, like if they get into a fight, like they don't know. They're just projecting. Like they're just trying to puff out their chest. They don't really know. Like that's why they talk like that. They're afraid. So they're like, they've never been in a fight before, so they don't know. You know?
I've heard that from a lot of the older law enforcement officers I know too. They're like, these young kids have never been in a fist fight and come out on the other side to know that they can. And so it gets very scary to get in a physical altercation sometimes. Yeah, I love that. Thank you. So one piece of advice for someone considering walking into a jiu-jitsu gym, what would you tell them? Not just do it. Like, of course, we're going to say do it. Walk in, get on the mat. But how?
So what would you really do? Like, because it's the same for like martial arts in general. Is like do your research, you know, jump on Google if it really matters that much to you, like see the schools in your area, or like I don't actually live close to Fredson's gym, so
I'm 45 minutes the other side of town.
Right, but I care enough because I feel it, you know, I feel like he's that good, and he is, and then some. But you know, find an instructor that you seem to care a lot about and check out a class first. Just come sit and see a class first, and then then make a decision.
And you can interview schools. Like you can kind of go and see where there's the energy that you vibe with.
Yeah, a lot of people forget that. They think they got to try it their first day. They really don't. You can just sit first and observe, and then, you know, but then soon you should try to get in. But yeah, because observing only do so much. But, you know, observing is good for vibes. But you need to get moving and then see how you really like it.
Yeah, and I think for me, like the first technique, I think was 15 steps that I learned. It was Fred's favorite, escape from guard.
Yeah, that's his first.
That's what he teaches everybody first. But there's so, like, the more I learn, the more I see how important that foundation is to everything else.
Yeah.
I do. So, yeah, just get moving. All right. We'll catch you next time. Thank you so much.
Take care.
Thank you, Enloe.
All right, thank you.